hope you had a nice evening. You didn't go to bed too late. We are doing this panel this year, which is on music supervision, but also dealing with a producer point of view. We thought it was important because in Les Arcs, as you know, we have the music village with many people from the music industry coming. We have the industry village. And the connection between the two parts seems for us important to also explain, because the whole idea behind that is that those two people from the film industry understand better how the music can help on films and how it works, etc. So that was really the idea, to come back a bit to the basics through concrete examples.
Yes, hello. My name is Emeline. I work at the Music Village with Jeremy. And this year, so we invite at the Music Village, so we try to make bridges between music and film, music picture and film, and the music supervisor has this key role in the cinema. So today we wanted to highlight the role of the music supervisor and how they can help the producers in the music, as well as bespoke original score and existing music.
So we have Perrine Kenesson who will moderate, and I will let you introduce our nice panel.
Hi, hello everyone, good morning, and thank you all for being here so early. It feels early for me at least. I have with me two, I would say, amazing duos of producers and music supervisor. First, we are Alexandre Gavras, producer at KG Productions, and Thibault Deboaisne, music supervisor, who work together on Custody, for example, the first movie of Xavier Legrand, and also on his new feature, The Successor, which is screening at the festival this year. And next to me, we have the Lemming Film producer, Erik Glijnis. I'm sorry if I didn't. Okay, sorry if I mispronounced your name. And the music supervisor Laura Bell, who work together on Stefanie Kolk's Melk and Ena Sendijarević Sweet Dreams. Yeah, okay, nice with the names. Hard. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to start with a question for the two producers, Alexandre and Erik. At what point did you know you needed to work with a music supervisor?
Well, we were just pre-discussing that in the Netherlands. I think Laura is the first music supervisor that came about. So I've been producing now for 10 years, and I've made so many mistakes in handling or approaching the music for film. And at some point, I can elaborate a little bit on what kind of mistakes, but it had to do with I think, the combination of the different types of music within a film, the approach, the process, when do we attach what partners, how do you handle the budget, and who are your key partners to talk with. And then Laura came about, and we did a project of Fatih Akin together. And we had a very short timeline in assembling a full orchestra and a choir. And the combination of seeing the music, actually, because I think a lot of times it fell in between producer, director, composer, and then we had the clearances, and mistakes were made because there wasn't control over the overall process, since it's also not my the aspect where I'm coming from, so it's difficult to manage. And I think with Laura, that went so well that we decided to partner up, and now Laura is involved in all of our projects in order to oversee the music for our feature films and television series. And with that, we had a starting point, and we make a tailor-made approach for each feature or series. And I think that's also what's needed for our projects, but also so I think it helps both. Like I think it helps every side to achieve the right quality, but also avoid miscommunications and problems. But well, I think we'll discuss the problems that occurred before later on.
Alexandre?
We decided to for me it's very important to go very early on to see a music producer, because in another life I was an assistant director, and on one film we shot all over the world and I was in charge of getting all the rights, the music rights, and it was such a nightmare that I said to myself, never again. So each time I go to Thibault for two reasons. One is for the artistic reason, to have the director start thinking early about the music, what kind of music he wants. And also if there are some musics that he says, you know, I want to have Tina Turner in that scene, then we can budget also that kind of music, and depending on the composer also we can start budgeting the music. So it's very important for me to have this in an early process, because usually I've witnessed that a lot of films, they go late after, like when they're editing, and they're like, okay, what kind of, you know, which musician we could go to, and then it's too late, and they don't have to really think about the music for the film. And the music is really important because it really gives the tone of the film and the ambience. So it's, for me, it's very important to go very early. And once I have a script, it's really, I call Thibault and say, Thibault, what can we do with this music?
Can you explain a little more, Erik, about the mistakes, as you said, that occurred before?
I think it perfectly taps in what Alexandre is saying, like starting too late, or I let myself convince one time that a director said, I don't want to work with a composer, but I would like to work with clearances. And then we hired 2 assistants, and we did 250 clearances of music on Spotify that had less than 1,000 listeners. And we made a standard email, and we emailed all of them. And in the end, I think we had 100 or more songs, and in the end of the film, when we were editing, we used one, and we needed a composer to save the day, and that was a nightmare, obviously. Or like examples of having a clearance in your script and thinking, okay, we asked for a quote, not knowing, and then I think it's very difficult in an edit if you have temp music and there's no clear vision to change the strategy on that, because you're just too late, because you get used to something. It's very difficult to be creative at that point, and the finance comes in place. So we have just been too uncareful with that, and like I said, I think that the management of the process has been too poor on our side, also due to a lack of knowledge. And I think we are now fair to say that we need a music supervisor. Let me think about more problems. Maybe I'll tap in with other anecdotes on what went wrong.
Yeah, anytime you want during this time of anytime you want. So we're talking about music supervisors, but I'm gonna ask, like, seems like a stupid question, but I need to ask it to Laura and Thibault. What is a music supervisor? What's your job exactly?
You've been doing this longer than me. So I think every music supervisor is different, has different qualities. You do have to be, maybe as a producer, a little careful about talking to the music supervisors, because some music supervisors do only clearances or do only one particular part of music supervision, but I'm very much a complete as you are, I think, on the artistic side and on the clearance side. So I begin from script, or actually from artistic development. I hope to, or I always would like to sit on at the table with the director and the producer, talk about the budget, talk about expectations with the director. Make that budget, make a concept, so a music concept, maybe a soundboard, and then start thinking about the composer. Who would we ultimately like to work with? Does the director have someone that they have a really good relationship with that does actually fit the tone of the film, or are we looking for someone with the right spend? Obviously, for producers, that's very important. Where do they spend their money? How are they going to maximize that at the end of the day? So do we have to find a composer that is in a co-production land, so to speak, or are we finding someone who is a little bit out of the box, who can think creatively and work well with the director? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, the director-composer relationship is incredibly important, and a music supervisor can do all they can, but that relationship is the tone of the film for score. So who is going to work well, and then sit on the table and talk about about songs. What are the expectations, as you said, and then go through to the very dying breath of clearance, contracts, following up the invoices, because shit can go wrong in that stage. You send a contract and someone says, hey, I didn't agree to this for this and this, and then it's working through that. You know, that there's some labels that always put MFN all songs, and you have to pull that out of the contract, because then you are paying the exact same amount for a song, for every single song in the whole film, and labels. You know very well, do that. They put that in the contract, and then suddenly you have to pay the same amount for all of the songs in your film. And then working through on the cue sheets, you know, in sound design, you've got the sound design working on set. Actually, there's something for Lemming today that's on set for a series that we're working on. We needed a band on set that could play back. We made a song, an original song that was a hit 20 years ago for this band. It's all the preparation, having the right instruments that could have been played on that stage back 20 years ago, making sure everyone is holding their hands properly. So we've had for that series, actually, we've got a hand double there today. On set, we've had 2 lessons for someone who had to learn guitar, the actor who had to learn guitar and piano. It's organising all those things, and then we go into the edit and sound design. I'm in contact with those people as well. Talking, you know, sound designers, sometimes they also just reach out for things that they're missing. So it's good to have that direct line of contact, so they're reaching out to the music supervisor and not to YouTube. Because that can also be very dangerous. Suddenly you have a cue sheet and you see perhaps that the sound designer has used whale songs, you know, to fill some sounds. Okay, where are those whale songs coming from, and why, and how do we clear those? And then obviously the invoicing. It's we do lots of invoicing out of Boomstammer for the Netherlands, and most of the invoices for publishing go through there. So it's always checking. Okay, is there double invoicing? Is everyone being paid? Are artists being paid properly? For co-production, where are we invoicing from? Is it Estonia, or is it the Netherlands? So it's making sure that all the administration is correct at the end of the day as well. So it's really that full arc of head of music from begin until the very, very end.
Until the invoicing. And Thibault?
Well, Laura gave a pretty broad picture of what we do as a music supervisor. So let's sum up and say that we do so to speak, but the work of a producer on the music for a film, and that covers as well the artistic questions, and also everything relating to management, budget, and so on. So it begins indeed at the script. Once the script is written, generally we may be consulted for some points in the script if there are important music questions at this level, but generally we begin our work when a film or a TV series is greenlighted. And the first question is, often the first question is how much will it cost when you have scripted songs, and you have to give a first rough idea of the cost, and help with having a precise music budget, and discuss about everything artistic with the director, and know what is the ambition, what are the issues, what do you want to do, will there be on-screen performances, and how do we proceed for every on-screen performance, or every time a song is played on screen, that is there's a party, etc. How do you want to do this? Which song do we use, and how much will it cost, and what kind of mood do you want to have for a scene, and so. One of the question, and one of the good things about working up front is that you're asking the right questions. That is both from an artistic question, because music is also, as sound, generally is a part that's sometimes underlooked and taken. So if you take it a little bit at the beginning, it's really better for everyone. So yes, you're asking these questions up front, and you go in every stage. That is, you can help with the coaching of the comedians if they are to play, I don't know, piano or and so on, and to find if there is a karaoke, you will have to produce a karaoke version, an instrumental version, or negotiate the rights of a karaoke instrumental version, and etc. etc. It's very everything relating to music can be done properly or wrongly until, indeed, as Laura said, you may have at the end of the day, once the film, the mix is ended, some parts that will have been added in the during the final mix, such as songs or whatever. And you will discover that and say, okay, we have to do this and clear this at the last minute. So it's very, it's quite broad and very interesting. And but one of the interesting aspects is that, especially, I think for TV series today, it's that music is giving is one key part of which helps giving an identity, a specific identity to a project. And when there's so many TV shows, and it helps making a difference sometimes too. So I think it's interesting to have to think about what you want to give as a musical identity for a project.
Yeah, like you said, it's broad. I think I have no idea how broad it was. You were talking all about budget, because that's the important thing as well, for clearing and paying people, actually. So this budget, do you create it together with the music supervisor and the producer, or the music supervisor has to deal with an imposed budget?
I mean, let's face it. There's as you work on many films, you start to realize that there's a kind of an approximate budget that you would be able to fall in. But every time I look at a film, I really try and think, okay, what do we really need here, and try and go for that maximum. And I think sometimes there are occasions where you look at the film as a producer, and I'm always in awe of producers at how much you have to fit into that budget at the end of the day. Do we have really big stunts? Are we where are we shooting? Who's actually playing the parts? All those little things do impact the budget. And I think in the music industry, and I think that's where the bridge is really important. In the music industry, they're only looking at this budget from their musical perspective. So it's really important for the music supervisors to actually be talking to the music industry about, okay, but this film, it's being it's being shot in Poland. We have these two huge actors, and our budget is only this small because of that reason. And actually, a really good example is not with Erik, but with a film here at the festival, Kiro, and I don't think they'll mind me talking about it, is that we had a really small budget for that particular film, but they were in the car. The two actors were in the car for the almost the whole of the film, and in the car you have the radio on almost always. So how are we going to have those radio songs playing in the car? And we counted up, and there was like 8 times that they were in the car, and we were going through the sound world, and it had to be like this great American road trip feel, but then in Europe, and with a little bit of this Polish flavor, and what are we going to do? And I started searching through music, and I found, the B-side of Dusty Springfield, LP, Stay a While, and suddenly I thought, oh, this song is it's irritating, just like PAMP at the Anatomy of a Fall. It's irritating enough, but it's also good enough to be played 8 times in the car. It also solves my budget problems. So it's a beautiful way to wrap that up. And if you don't have that experience of what you can be asking a label or a publisher for on those deal terms at the very beginning of the negotiations, then you can fall in the trap of paying 8 times that amount of music, or you can have it in one deal. Composers, it's also budget is very very important to be open and honest about. Okay, what is fair pay, and what are we offering composers? That's also a discussion. Are we giving them is there an own publishing? Is there a broadcaster that's involved? Is it a Netflix production or an Amazon production that maybe has other interests in and how can we budget for all of that in a fair way?
Yeah, every time you explain, like, wow, there's so many things to think about. That's huge. I'm like, okay, I'm not ready for that job. I'm sorry, I'm lost in my. I'm really sorry. Yeah, about the budget again, and I'm asking the producers as well. Are there any, I don't know, financial helps or from I don't know if for example from France, from the CNC, are there any kind of maybe helps, financing funds to help producing the music for the movies?
Yes, we have some funds, CNC, SACEM also, Maison de la Musique. For short films, and for short films also there are some helps. It can add up. It depends on the budget and how much songs. I think Thibault will know more about how much we can get from those funds. There's one thing I wanted to add before for the budget also that for me comes in advance or see early, is whether we're going to use some of the music, thinking of some of the music that might be used out of context, for instance for the trailer or things like that. And if I spot the music that we might use for that, I said, Thibault, maybe we should speak in advance for out of context. And also one of the things is the recording of the music, the original music, whether we're going to use a real musician or an orchestra, because that can also, even like in the, when you see the excerpt later, we have, it's very electronic music, but he added some violins over it to make them more real, because they hear the difference between like electronic music, like electronic violin and real violin. So sometimes that's also something to take into account. And I'm just going to give the microphone to Thibault so he can tell you how much money we can get from the CNC and the SSM.
Well, for feature films, there will be 2 main possibilities for help, for subsidies. That is coming from the CNC. If you have a minimum music budget for the score of 20,000 euros, or 1.5% of the budget, and you use enough music in the film that is at least 10% of the total length of the film, then you may earn up to 50% of your music budget. That won't be more than 10,000 euros generally now. And there is also the possibility to go to SACEM, who have 2 main funds. One is a fund for feature films, and that will be if you have a minimum budget of 40,000 euros for the score, which is a big sum for independent films, and 20% of the duration of the film is with the score music, with the original music. Then you may have also a significant subsidies from SACEM. And there is another program from SACEM for films which have very musical, deep musical connections. That is, for instance, for Les Magnétiques, we had the possibility to have this funding, and it was like it's up to 25,000 euros, so it's really significant. And I think that's it, mainly.
And in the Netherlands, are there some subsidies as well to help you financing the music?
No.
Okay.
No,
Not yet.
not yet. No, that's the good answer, actually. No. No, it's part of the. It's in our case, it's part of the overall budget, but I think. No, so no. Maybe I'm wrong. But Booma is in the audience in the Dutch Film Fund, so maybe it will be there in the near future. No, it's not. And I think to take one step back on what Laura said, I think it's important because we haven't covered so much rights, but I think the split of rights and budget is an important one. As Laura says, like a Netflix production is different than an independent art house film, and that goes theatrically all around the world. So that's because Lemming Film also has its own music library, so we try to take part in the rights of the projects we do, which is also discussion with the composers, which also Laura is helping out with. So that within budgeting, it's also looking at how do we handle the rights, because there's also potential income from the exploitation of the music, which is another part to add to building the budget and the strategy on how we approach the music. No, but in the Netherlands, like Laura says, I think we look at a film. How much is it relying on the music? Like Alexandre said, do we feel like it's an orchestral score? Is it more contemporary and the use of less artists? Is it a mainstream film that would rely on some hits we would use in the trailer? And then from the talks we talk together with Laura and the director to find the budget. So the budget for a mainstream film normally in our case is completely different from an art house film, and and sometimes it's in between. So there is somehow a tailor-made approach, but also knowing what is normal or what is the size that is capable of within the. I mean, but we are free to shift around with the budget. We don't have minimums or something. So if we want to spend half of our budget on music, it could be possible. But of course, it's the defining what's right for each film.
I think Milk is probably a good example, if I may. That's a debut film. It was. We spoke to Stefanie and she wasn't sure whether she wanted a composer. There was a lot of sound design in her head in script phase. I spotted the film with the budget, with the post-producer, and I think that this is what we will end up using, and then I think we should have this buffer for a composer. And then we just let Stefanie work out her process over the time and see how that goes. And at the end, I was actually comparing, because of this talk, what we sketched in that little budget, and it was exactly at the end what Stefanie had moved to. But the post production was ready for it, and we had this in the budget, and it worked.
Yeah, it's all about anticipating, actually. So you were talking about Melk. You. Both of your duos brought some excerpts from the movies that are screening during this festival. I'm going to start with you, Alexandre and Thibault. We have an excerpt from The Successor. So maybe we're going to show the excerpt, and then you can talk about your collaboration on this specific movie. Yeah. Yeah, you can. So it's the opening of the successor, and if I'm not mistaken, the composer's name is Sebastian. So yeah, can you talk to me about to me and to us, about your collaboration on the successor?
So this was the film opened with this big fashion show, and it was very important to get it right, not only in terms of scenery but also in terms of music. And very early on, with Xavier, we approached Thibault for the music and saying, we're looking for a composer. Who are you thinking about? And he gave us 3-4 names. And Sebastian stood out. Sebastian is also doing all the music for the Salon, Saint Laurent, for all their shows. And one of the things is because we started the shooting it was like the first day of shooting with this scene. So we needed the music for the models to walk and to have the rhythm with them. So Sebastian did the tap music. One of the most difficult things about Sebastian is to have the music on time. We have to be behind his back. We have to do it because he procrastinates a lot and works at night. So you have to be very patient and very cool. And that was it. And he gave us those. There are 4 movements in the music. There's the opening, then there's the second and third, and there's the 4th movement that's coming after when she goes backstage. Because after we follow her backstage. And that's it. And now that's the context.
Yes, as Alexander says, the first question was for the film was who's going to do the music for the fashion show, because it opens with this fashion show, which is the first fashion show by a new designer. And do we use pre-existing music or do we use original score? And because at some point Xavier had references of fashion shows and of fashion shows with a specific fashion show with a score, and we thought about using it, but in the end it proved to be more interesting to do some bespoke music for the fashion show and use some of the themes, because of this initial fashion show as the score music and as the main themes of the film. And the film begins in a very Parisian, fashion, trendy ambient, and then moves into something more, moves into more of a thriller movie. So we had to find somebody who has capacities to work and to write very electronic, up-tempo music, and then do something more, write something more of a thriller score. So Sebastian proved to be the good match, and he did quite an amazing job. The film will screen this afternoon at 3 p.m. so 3:30. So you may have the rest of the story later if you attend the screening. And that was the main. That was the big thing with the successor, was to find the right match for the music. And after that, Sebastian is working really on his own, so he's also a producer, and he's working in his own studio, and we don't have to deal with orchestras, and it's really, very independent for his production. So we had some scripted songs as well in the film, notably a song by Michel Fugain, Fait comme l'oiseau, and it was playing a role in the story, so it had to be cleared before the shooting. And besides that, we had mainly classical music playing in a funerarium, and so we had to use very melancholic, sad things about mourning, and Der Tod und das Mädchen and things like that. And that was just choosing the right version which could work and not be that expensive. So checking that you don't have I don't know, like a British musician playing on it, which would be so costly, as you experienced. And for instance, and yes, so there's not that much music in the movie, but it's the first time that Xavier used a score composer, so it was something pretty new for him, and it was interesting to accompany him, and yes, one of the issues was to have everything on time, and we had to deal also with some problems that we do encounter often. That is temp music, and as temp score. So maybe not all of you know what is temp score, but it's basically music used by the film editors as temporary music when you wait for the final original bespoke music. And for the beginning of the fashion show, for instance, we used the temp score, another music composed by Sébastien for Saint Laurent fashion show, and we had some. It was very long too. It's difficult for a composer to do something which is similar to his previous work. So it's sometimes even more difficult to work on a temp score when you use when the temp score that is used is your music. So it was maybe the trickiest part was finding the right replacement original music for this, but we used it in the end. We found it. What can I say else?
And the music we just heard at the opening, it's also the music we will hear the whole movie. It give us the themes of the movie, right?
Exactly. Yes, that was the original idea, and I think it's working. It was interesting. The last theme that which is called Miss, is the main theme of the movie of the film, and is arranged in different versions during the whole film.
And also the way Xavier uses the music in the film, it's not to illustrate what's going on in the film, to let the audience know that at this moment they should be scared, or at this moment they should be happy or cry. The way he uses the music to illustrate, like in transitions, to speed up the transition between scenes, to accelerate the movie where it can slow down a little bit. Then that's when he uses the music, not to illustrate what we should be feeling.
Thank you. I'm going with you, Laura and Erik, on your collaboration on Sweet Dreams, which is also showing during this festival. Same exercise. I will show the clip, and then you can talk about your collaboration on Sweet Dreams. So, Sweet Dreams. fire, and it's a very dreamlike situation. The music is dreamy as well. So can you talk to us about this collaboration on Sweet Dreams?
Yeah, it's good. We saw the beginning of the film and the end of the film. Sorry for the spoiler for the people who saw. Yeah, it's a bit like a lullaby. The end song. Actually, Sweet Dreams went really well in the music approach. We had a French composer working on the film, and the director and the composer worked a lot prior to the film. We had, for the people who haven't seen the film, it's a film about the Dutch colonial past in Indonesia. So it's a mixed cast of Dutch and Indonesian actors, and the film is a bit satirical as well. So it has comedy tones, and there's a shift within the film that the film becomes a bit darker. So the musical approach in making the film also contemporary was really a thing we had a lot of talks about, and which worried me to find the right tonality of the music. But in the end, it went really well. We worked with the composer first, focusing on the music that was needed on set. So we had some bands in the film playing music on set. And actually, the composer worked a lot working from the script and created music like a soundboard, like Laura said, like a board to give it to the director, and the director took it to set. So the same like you, like on the fashion show, we had this music on set, so that the actors, it's a completely different setup, but we would play it on rehearsals to get the mood of the scene and also the mood of the acting. So this was played during the rehearsals, and then just prior to shooting we shot without the music in order to have the right sound recording on set. And so we had we had that there. And actually it was also interesting that the composer, we shot this film in La Réunion, and the composer came to La Réunion during the set, so we first focused on the music needed for the shooting, and then on set he worked on the rest of the music, just creating a library of different tones and music, which we gave to the editor along with the shooting. So the editor started working with no temp music. We had temp music made by the composer, so we had no other music. And for me, that was a fantastic experience to already work from there, because it really helped the edit as well to not get attached to the music, and also on the rhythm and everything. So the process, maybe it's a bit of a boring case study in that sense, but it really for us it was great that it worked well. And then during the edits, the composer kept on working and then redefining. But we could do a lot of just on the script without some composers maybe start when seeing a first cut of the film, but this worked way better for us in order to match the images with the music.
There was actually one temp in there, and that's why you called me, because there was actually one temp to Vivaldi at the dinner table, and we couldn't find, the post-producer couldn't find the rights to the recording. It was Vivaldi, so it was public domain, but they couldn't find the rights to the recording, and we dug in. I started to dig. Okay, it was quite a special, particular recording of this piece. Started to dig, and it was very difficult. And I have connections with all of the classical music labels around the world, and I sent out to them, does anyone own this recording? Like it was on one of these compilations that are often made for sales in supermarkets, but it was such a great recording, and so everyone said no. Like all of the classical labels came back and said no, this is not ours. Like we cannot find this in our catalogue from this orchestra and director, but we're happy to send suggestions, and so we received hundreds of recordings of this piece, and I went through all of them, and in those suggestions was the recording that Enya wanted around the dinner table, and it was just labelled differently, and the label didn't realise that they had it. So that's a nice illustration of how a music supervisor can also play a part in just having the network to find the right recording.
And just how did you find the composer for Sweet Dreams?
I didn't.
No, you didn't. Not me.
No, the director did. It was a friend of hers, and like I said, like the film being a period piece, and he had only done some work on short films, but they started talking about film, and she said I would want him for the film, and I asked, did he work on film before? He said, yeah, some shorts. So, but I said, okay, let's meet and let's see if it works. And from the talk, I think he really fully understood what we were doing, and he actually back then, and that was also really good. He already made some things which he could. I was thinking of this and that hit the right direction, and that earned the trust of all of us to say this is the right move. So to also work with a debut feature composer, and thinking he's going to nail it, and he did in the end. It's really, I think, if people have seen the film or will see the film, it's an amazing job. Yeah.
And you were telling earlier that from now on, you are going to collaborate on every movie you're gonna and series you're gonna make. You are creating a specific structure for that.
Yeah, so we will hire before we around the green light of a project, or just before when we are in the financing phase, we set up meetings with Laura and the director, and we do a meeting with Laura, like she said, about the expectations of a film, and we help, and that's the point where from those meetings there will be a wish list, and maybe sometimes there's a composer already attached due to previous collaborations, sometimes there isn't. And we make a tailor-made budget, also seeing how much Laura will be involved in the future steps. And we try to, from then also adapt. Maybe we realize that there's less music needed, which rarely happens, or there's more music needed, and what room do we have within the budget to shift it around, and what is the best approach. Because then you still have the time to artistically also, like a solution of playing a tape recorder that's stuck using the same. You can let in the creative decisions that can help the film. So we decided to do that, not knowing for each project how necessary it is, but we just do that starting point. And that's also the decision. This is the tailor-made process. What we're going to do for the project. Is that the right description here?
Thank you very much. Is there any questions in the room? Yeah, don't be scared. They're really nice people. I know it's early, but please don't let us down. Yeah, they were too good explaining, right? That's why. No questions. Okay, thank you very much for being here, and thank you, the four of you, for all your specific explanations and the scary work of a music supervisor that I know now. And thank you very much.